Okay.
Okay, today.
Okay, we share you too.
Okay, today our presentation, it will be very special presentation because it's live from Durankulak bird ringing camp at the Black Sea coast in Bulgaria, presented by Andrey Ralev, founder of the Perangua platform, Peter Shurlinkov from the National Museum of the Natural History, and Patrick Bergkamp, a lifelong bird ringing from the Netherlands. If you have some questions, you can just write on the chat list, or just you can unmute yourself and ask them yourself. Thanks to Andrey, Peter, and Patrick, and thanks to all of you for that you're joining today, and enjoy on the presentation.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So you hear us now, okay?
I hear you very good.
Okay. So welcome everybody. I'm sorry about the technical problems we had at the beginning. We had to change the link. So right now we are in the Duranquak bird ringing camp. And my name is Andrey Ralev. Next to me is Peter Shurlinkov. He can show up here. He is Professor Peter Shurlinkov from the National Museum of Natural History. And to my left is Patrick Bergkamp. He's a biologist from the Netherlands and one of the most enthusiastic bird ringers I have known in my life. So shortly I will present the idea of the bird ringing camp. For now, our idea is to have it like a 5-year scientific project organized at the Duranquak Lake. At the end of the meeting, I'll show you around a little bit with the camera. So the Duranquak Lake is one of the important wetlands of international importance in Bulgaria, Ramsar site, and very important area for migration of birds, and especially of passerings, because to the east of the lake is the Black Sea. The west is a big area with very dry habitats, and there are not many wetlands around. Just the Shabla Lake is close by, but the other big wetlands are far away. And one of the main goals of the bird ringing camp is to cover a scientific gap, because there hasn't been any monitoring of birds, systematic monitoring of birds in this northeast Black coast of Bulgaria. The closest bird ringing stations are the Durankulak Lake to the south. There are 2 stations in Romania, 2 stations in Greece, and 1 in Turkey. And it is very interesting to compare the results of our camp with the results of these stations. Another very important thing about this camp is that it is completely voluntary. It is made by biologists and bird lovers and volunteers, which are very enthusiastic and come and cover all their expenses by their own. We are here for since the beginning of since mid-August, and we are going to stay until the end of October. This is our 2nd year after a successful camp last year. And another important thing is, well, I'll show you around. This is the camp in the forests. You can see that it is completely in the nature. We are covered here from the wind. Well, not so covered, but at least it's much better than outside.
I only want to correct you that part of the coast this year are covered by the National Museum for food and for transport.
Yeah, of course, it's been a great help from the museum this year. but of course nobody of us is paid. I mean, that's we're all volunteers here. Yeah. Yeah. And another important thing is that it is a great place for education of ornithologists, future ornithologists, a great place for conservation and education activities, and we hope that many people that come here will become bird drinkers in the future. And also many of them will become activists, conservationists. It is also one of the ideas of the platform I'm taking part of. It's called Perangua platform to motivate people to help voluntarily in environmental campaigns, and I think it's working very well up to now here with the camp. So maybe just a little bit about the scientific gap. I think we have to give you the word. Why is it important here? I'll put it closer to you so you can hear.
In that area, we have no exact data about dynamics of migration of passering birds, especially. So ringing activities until now have been just for short periods and not covering the full migration periods of at least in autumn migration. So we have no dynamics, no full species composition of migration, and no data about number of migrants and direction of migration. All these things for this northern Black Sea coast are not clear until now. So we already gather information to fill this scientific gap, and I'm pleased that we succeeded in the first season to capture almost 10,000 birds and 84 species. And this year already we have about 6,200 for 1 month. So we will have enough good samples to work in the future to analyze.
Yes, and a little bit about the methodology. We have last year we had 200 meters of nets, which are mist nets. Mist nets. They're special nets to capture small birds and without any harm to the birds, to put the rings and to either recapture them in other places or to just evaluate the species composition and the migration patterns of these birds. In fact, this year we have a little bit more nets, right? Not 19 like it last year, but almost the same numbers, so we can compare the results. But the most important thing is that we have interesting habitats here. We have the lake, which is somewhere over there, with the reed habitats, and we have the forest, which is over there, with mostly smaller trees and some lower vegetation. Elm trees, yes, ulmus trees, and that's why it's diversity. We also managed some of the nights. Last year we did it one night. This year we did it one more night to capture waders in the Shabla Tuzla Lake, which is a salty, very salty lake in the south here. So something about I would like to give the word to Patrick here to tell us a little bit about playing sounds. How it is very important to have the appropriate sounds to play in order to attract the birds and to have the opportunity to capture them more effectively. So please, can you tell us, Patrick, a little bit about your experience with playing the sounds?
In the Netherlands and also in Germany. Now it's also done in other countries, also in Belgium. It's done for quite some time now, 40, 50 years, to play the sounds of most passerings, not all passerings. Species can be attracted to the use of sound.
So you don't play all the sounds of the species, but some of the most important for here, and not all of them get attracted by the sounds, right?
No. You've tried so many, over the years you've tried many compositions of sounds, contact calls, song. Some species, just nothing works. Like Saxicola is not attracted by sound.
Saxicola is not attracted by sound.
Equalizing Trina, on the other hand, as well, is attracted to song, playback song.
Yes. But we captured today one of these.
Yes.
Icterina, what is the name?
Icterine warbler.
Icterine warbler, yes, it's an eastern species, so we captured the third today.
Yeah, but been playing the sound since half of August, also last year, and the numbers called so far two last year and 2 or 3 this year.
Yeah.
I just heard the other day that the Pelagicrina is not seen or rarely seen during autumn migration in Bulgaria. It seems like this species has enough fat reserve accumulated in Romania or further north to cross this region. Or we don't know why, but
it's very important information also when you don't capture some species of birds. And it's very interesting with the red-breasted flycatcher that in Romania they are like one of the most common species which is captured there. Here, last year we had like 2%, about 200 something, 250, which is like 2% of our birds. And in the Durankulak Lake, further south, there are almost no red-breasted flycatcher. It's an interesting bird which is protected on European level. And this gives us information that possibly it flies over the Black Sea and doesn't go through the Bulgaria and the Durankulak lakes. So that's pretty interesting. But about to continue about the sounds, we play sounds during the night sometimes in the forest. Why is that? Can you explain why do you play during the night the sounds?
That's the time they fly, migrate. And playing the sound is useful. We capture more large numbers than without playing the sound. And
because they're flying over the forest and they hear it and they come down to have a rest.
They hear it on specific. Some of them are attracted. And in the morning hours they fly about the loudspeaker.
Yes. So, Doctor, can you tell us a little bit about the time when we put the nest and when do we do the bird ringing? In fact, now as you see at midday we don't have activity.
Yes, we put the nest in 5:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock. About 6 o'clock they're already open, and we work in both places, in the forest and in the reed, until 11, 12 o'clock, and then we have a rest until 5:30 or 6 o'clock. In the evening, we capture only in the reed birds. We spend 3 hours there until the full darkness. So the main activity is during the morning and evening hours, which is many of the people become tired easily because sometimes we get more than 200, 300, and even 400 birds per day.
Yes, especially one of the, I'll tell you about the results from last year. The most common birds, sometimes you can catch like hundreds within an hour, which is the yellow wagtail and the white wagtail. Of course, the white wagtail comes later to starts migrating later here. This is Motacilla flava and Motacilla alba. The interesting about the yellow wagtail is that we have 5 different subspecies, and all of them like have different color patterns of the head. So it's very interesting to see that we capture subspecies, some of them from Western Russia, some of them from Central Europe, some of them from Romania, some of them are more local here. And the other so 24% of the birds last year were yellow wagtails, 13% were white wagtail, and then we had the reed warbler 8%, 7% was the sand martin. So more or less the most common birds were some of the warblers which are in the reeds, the 2 species of wagtails, and later in late September and October, the robins and the chiffchaffs are also very, very common. But some very, very interesting birds we had last year and also this year. Can you tell us about 3-4 of these species which are very rare in Bulgaria?
Yes, we captured last year citrine wagtails, 5 citrine wagtails, which are not breeding in Bulgaria. It's quite rare migrant in Bulgaria. It's interesting species. Unfortunately, this year we have no even one still. We hope there will be some next day. Also, this red-breasted flycatcher we capture in big amounts. It's very rare in Bulgaria as a breeding bird, and it's included in Red Data Book of Bulgaria and also in Annex 1 of the Bird Directive. So it's a highly vulnerable species, which is dependent only on old forests, and it's decreasing in many parts of here Southeast Europe because of the active logging in its habitat. Also, we captured some Indian warbler, Acrocephalus agricola.
Yeah, I think that we have people from India listening to us.
Yes, Badifile warbler, which is breeding only in Seashore and Durankulak Lake in Bulgaria regularly. Regular breeder only here. We captured some of them.
Nightingales, for example, about the nightingales, there are 2 species which are in fact, also the blue throat is a kind of a Lusitania nightingale. Yeah, it's very interesting, but the common nightingale is very rare here to the east. It's very common in Western Bulgaria, but very rare to the east. It's during migration. So we had a lot of thrush nightingales coming from.
Mostly here we capture thrush nightingales that breed to the north of Bulgaria and in Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Russia. They come from there, and they are not breeding in Bulgaria. They are breeding only in the Danube stretch between Russia and Ukraine. No in other places.
Okay. So I'll check if we have some questions. I hope Emo can write down the questions. Okay. Yeah. Emo, can you write us the questions, because we don't hear you very well, and we can respond there. And if somebody else has other questions, please give it to us. I think Naiden is saying maybe first thing they show is a mustache warbler.
Yes.
Okay, I can write in the chat the questions. If you
Yes, please write in the chat and we'll continue
First
talking.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the first question.
Okay. Okay, so the first question is, how do you feel to organize such a volunteer camp in 2020? Was it hard? I mean, during the COVID crisis, I believe the question is. So I'll very shortly start with that. Yes, it was very difficult. We didn't know until July if we were going to have this camp organized, but at the end, I think it is perfect. It's like one of the best places to be during a COVID crisis, isolated. Well, maybe yeah, we have 1.5 meters here, but we're I mean it's very secure, and we had the permission from the Shabla municipality this year. We're grateful to them. And then the travel. The travel was difficult for people from abroad. There were some Slovakian colleagues of ours who couldn't join. There were some countries that are not permitted to come to Bulgaria. We even had some people writing to our Perangua network from Egypt and other countries that couldn't join, unfortunately, from Belgium. So I think Patrick can tell his own experience. How did you come here, and what do you think about?
Well, maybe I face a 2-week quarantine when I get back to the Netherlands. I don't know. The situation is better.
Yeah.
No, there were no restrictions going to Bulgaria. The government, the Netherlands government, advised against it. So if it's necessary, then you can go. Then you may go.
Oh
no, I didn't have any problems entering the country.
Yeah, it was a difficult year, and it's still a difficult year, and many people, at least in Bulgaria, I think, could join because they saw that there was no problem to be here, and also some people had plans to travel abroad but couldn't do it. And I think up to now we have about 50 participants. Maybe we'll have about 70 or more, and it's going pretty well.
I want to add that every week, every group of that is ringing here is not more than 12 people. We accepted this as a rule when we wrote this letter to the municipality. I think this was as a measure not to gather many people.
Yeah, you can see now the tents. The tents are pretty far away. There's some people there. So these are the participants now. We are 6 at the moment. And yes, okay. So next question, please. Let me see.
Next question.
Yes, I'll see the chat now. Okay. Yes, so there's another question. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the activities that volunteers do in the camp. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about what the volunteers do in the camps?
Yes, the volunteers help us firstly in the ornithological work. They start to take, we study them how to take the birds from the net, which is very important, bring them, and then they learn to measure them and to write their Latin names in the lists. So they take active participation in the scientific part of the work. And further, they help us to supply the camp with food, with water, with everything to build tents and other facilities. We have electricity, we have Wi-Fi, everything was organized by the volunteers.
Yeah, we have the electric panel there, as you can see, which is from our neighbors from the other camp, but they're helping us. So I think everybody is like very happy to help here, even the neighbors from the other camps. Yeah, it is impossible to make it without the volunteers. Of course, not only about the scientific work, but the everyday cooking.
Cooking is very important. Yes. We have the help of volunteers for cooking.
Yeah, but also organizing the camp, because at the end of the day, it is difficult to start every day with around 6 o'clock and stay until 10 in the night. But it's very pleasant. Also, the weather is perfect right now, and the sea is nice for bathing. So it's not that pleasant at all. So we have another questions, please. Let me see here. So first, I'll start with the last question. We would like to know what data you collect for the tag birds in context of amount of moult data. Are there set guides you follow? Do you understand the question? So, I mean, the data of moulting. You see?
Yes. We don't collect any data of moult.
Not really. The wing body molds.
Yes. We measure the wings. We make all the measurements when it's possible. All the measurements of the birds and describe if it's molting of primaries or secondary, tertiary, or tail feeders or other parts of the body. We just remark this in the remarks of the list.
Yes, maybe next year when we have 20 volunteers per day, we'll be able to do all the measurements. But right now, because in the morning we have a lot of birds in the first visit, and then in the night when we play the sounds of the wagtails, we also can get like 200 birds. Our biggest priority is the health of the birds, so we try to release them as fast as possible.
Yes,
And
so not all birds are measured and described about moult and fat level, weight, everything.
most of the birds do have like the basic things, the wing length, the age. Molting is important for aging. Age, sex. Also, we have the fat level from 1 to 8.
And weight.
And the weights, yes. And okay, another question is how different are the results between 2020 and 2019? What differences do you see?
Still we cannot conclude. It's early for conclusions, but it's obvious that some species are much more common compared to the last year. As, for example, Sylvia nisoria, Jinx perquia, Sylvia communis, Ixubricus minutus.
We started earlier, about 10 days earlier, so
yes.
You have to take that into account.
Yes, but even in the period that covers the same period, they are more common, these species. I compare. And other are not are with much less numbers, like Ficedua parva and Tantus trivialis. It's very difficult to explain why, because many factors can contribute to this annual differences. But that's very important to have many seasons, at least 5 or more, to compare the years and to see these differences. Not to make conclusions only relying on one or two seasons.
Yes. Okay. So more questions, please. Let me see. Another question. Do you trap passerings at night? Is the question.
No, no.
Mm-hmm.
No, during the night we don't capture passerings.
No. Sometimes we go for waders.
Only waders.
Yes. Yes. So what can you say after 80 days of bird drinking? Yeah, I mean, last year and this year, about 50 days we had last year and about 30 days already this year. So how important is the Duranquak Lake for the birds in general? Well, I just want to give a brief explanation that we are working mostly with pattern birds, but the Duranquak Lake is important also as one of the last places and one of the most important places for the red-breasted geese, for example, during the winter. This is a species which is disappearing and almost, endangered. Not critically endangered, but endangered. So this is a place, and we have huge problems here with hunting and with construction and with change of agriculture practices around. The Duranquak Lake is also very important for breeding birds. The paddy-field warbler, as we said, is one of the two places in Bulgaria where it breeds. But during migration, how important is birds? Patrick, can you compare it, for example, with something in the Netherlands? Or it's very difficult, of course, but how important do you think it's this place for birds in general?
It's too early to tell.
Yes, he's a biologist and he doesn't want to make quick conclusions. But okay, what about your experience?
In my opinion, these lakes, especially Duranquak and also Shabo Lake, are very important stopover sites for refueling of migrants that probably originate from many areas of Romania, Ukraine, Belarus, and they gather in big amounts in Romanian lakes around the Danube Delta. And then many of them continue to the south along the western shore of Black Sea. And these are the lakes they stop to refuel before next step going to the Burgas Lake. So, and to the North Mediterranean area. So, for that reason, the lakes are very important. They offer very good opportunity for food. And in our data shows that many of the birds stay at least 2 weeks or more to feed here before next step of their migration, which is proved with our recaptures.
What recaptures do we have? Can you tell up to now from last year and from this year? International recaptures.
International, we have 3 birds that we captured from abroad and 3 birds that our birds were captured outside the borders of Bulgaria. We have birds, one Hirundu rustica from Estonia captured here, one Acrocephalus arundinaceus from Romania, and one Motacilla from Belarus. And our birds, one Acrocephalus melanupogon captured in Albania, one Muscinia svetica photographed in Ukraine, and one Silvia curuca captured in Romania.
And just one interesting question. Can you say for 10,000 birds, how many recaptures could you have, for example, in the Netherlands? Is it much more, right?
As a rule of thumb, small passerings, 1 in a 1,000 is 3,000.
Okay, so
Large species, the chance of recovery are much larger.
About 10.
about 10. So yeah, so we can say that we have 3 per 10,000 here, and in Western in the Netherlands it's about 10, like three
Times more.
three times more. 3 times more.
But
It's
the number is so small, it's
yeah. Of course, we have to.
after several years you
We have to. The thing
make
is,
a comparison.
yeah,
I want to add something about
yes,
the type of. I have the impression, but just an impression, that especially under the Ignatius,
the great reed warbler.
where they will show some side fidelity, because you have some recaptures from adult birds from previous years.
Ah,
They seem to stay longer here than other species.
yes. So and also we have many recaptures from this year breeding season, because there was some activity of ringing birds here. So there are some local birds who stay a long time here. Yes. So yeah, let me see if we have like 2 more questions, for example. Yeah, how helpful is the Perangua platform in volunteer campaigns? Well, it is. I told you we are organizing it here this year with the help of the National Museum of Natural History. We have people here from other institutes from the Bulgarian Academy of Science, and the platform that I'm taking part of it, Perangua platform. The idea is to have campaigns in different parts of the world where volunteers can join, and I think that volunteers have been very responsive here. Many people have written to us, and it has been like successful in spreading the word somehow. Of course, everybody has his own channels of spreading the word, but if we have some place centralized for environmental campaigns to join in different parts of the world, I think it will work. And when the COVID crisis is over, hopefully, and we can travel more, we can use it in many different countries also more.
Also want to add that for the organization of this ringing camp, we received a big help from Mr. Pavel Semyonov from Le Balkan Foundation, and from Mikhail Iliev from Bulgarian Society for Protection of Birds.
Yes, yes. I mean,
thanks to them.
I want to thank also to them and to everybody that is helping like with his own expertise. Most of the people are here doing all they can.
Yeah.
Independently if they're from one organization or from another, if their work is professional or volunteer. Or
yes, we are thankful for all volunteers and experts that joined.
Yes.
Until now, it is very long list, and I cannot tell them all their names, but they're written in our materials, our articles that will be published.
Yes, I can tell you that in our ResearchGate profiles, me and Peter, you can see the results from last year. And also these results are in the website of perangua.com, perangua.com. I'll write it down in the message if I can find how to do that while I'm talking. And there you can also find the way to join. Until the end of October, you can possibly also join the camp here. If you are from outside Bulgaria, you can possibly also spread the word and help us online, and we can try to find ways to participate in the future, or even try it for this year. I don't know how possible it is. And okay, I'm reading the message here from Matkumita. He says, just for information, we're tagging few species which are common to your areas, like paddyfield warbler, Blitz reed warbler, and blue throats. Well, let's say, one comment, none of these three species are common here, but they are present here. I mean, some of them are really rare in Eastern Europe. Do look out for our birds from India. The ring is with inscription Bombay National History Society. We don't ring in large numbers as you do, but since recently one of the Romanian tagged red-breasted flycatchers was recovered from Pakistan, so we're hopeful. Okay, so we are sending you some red-breasted flycatchers also.
Yes, it was very interesting retrap of this red-breasted flycatcher in Pakistan.
You know that?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Yes, well,
Let's hope there will be also other cases.
We have some interesting breeding species which winters in India. It's the rosefinch.
Yes, rosefinch, rose-cored starlings also, and recent research showed that big amount of blue throats, Ruthenian also winter in India.
Yes. So we have your message in our platform, and we'll write you back to get in contacts, and we can exchange more professional information. And what I suggest now is that quickly I'll walk around. I can show you the lake, the seashore, and yes. From India, we say, we look out for your birds too. Nice. And so I'm thankful to Patrick and to Peter. And just for the people that stay in the Zoom, wait for 10 more minutes so I can show you around the place. I think we do have some 10 more minutes. Okay, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so let me walk around a little bit. This is the camp back there, and here in front we do have kite surfers along the sea coast. It is a little bit windy here. I will to the seashore. So you will, I hopefully like the place and come sometime in the future. It's one of the places where camping in the forest is permitted in Bulgaria. So this is the seashore. It's one of the last pristine beaches in Bulgaria without any construction, and we hope that it stays like that. Romania is over there about 10 kilometers from here, and this is to the south. The town of Kravets, the village of Kravets is over there. And I'll come to the lake now. Here. It's one of the biggest lakes in Bulgaria, natural lakes, about 5 square kilometers, with lot of reef, and more than 300 species, as far as I know, are already registered here in this area. So yes, these are the reefs. A little bit more over there are our mist nets. Okay, so thank you to everybody, and let me see if we have some last questions in the chat. Oh, just out of curiosity, how long is intertidal zone there? Well, the Black Sea has almost no tide. It is about 50 centimeters of tide, so basically a few meters inland is you don't notice the tides, basically, almost. Maybe just last words from me about the conservation of the place. We are now in a protected area, on the border of a protected area. We're on the border of also the Natura 2000 site, which is European network of protected areas. And still, in Bulgaria, we have huge problems with construction. Is it possible to show the mistnet setup? Okay, I'll have to walk a little bit longer, but no problem. I'll go there. The people who have interests can be a little bit more patient with that. And now I'll talk about the problems still here. So we do have problems with people that want to convert the arable land and the steppes here into construction land. We also have problems with natural steppes which are converted into arable land. For example, let me show you. For example, this here, in the past, used to be steppes, but maybe for 50 years already, it's converted into arable land, cornfield in this case. We have also illegal hunting or hunting of species which are not permitted, like the red-breasted geese. And also there are many plans here for building of wind farms, which can be pretty dangerous for birds which are migrating in the area. Of course, we are not against renewable energy, but there should be placed